All right, let's go to a mailbag. We put out a tweet earlier. Make sure you're following all of us on Twitter. TJ Pittenger, Cole Thompson, and Tom Hannafin. I think it's Mr. Cole Thompson over there. From Jackson, who is the best player? We'll go rapid fire on these just to make them quick so we can get to the wild card and get out of here around 9 o'clock. Who's the best player in college football no one is talking about going into 2025? Cole, you go first. Then Tom, give me a pick for you as well.
I think Amari Thomas is a name that we got to give a little bit more attention to. I mentioned him for Houston. I really like his film. I think that he's going to go into a very defensive system this upcoming year. Very high on what he did last season. 62 catches, 670 yards, 8 touchdowns at UAB for a dysfunctional UAB team. I'm very excited to see what he's going to do with Connor Wigman as a starting quarterback. And I think that in this type of system with Slade Nagel calling the shots, he may be one of the more explosive wide receivers in the Big 12.
Give me Gio Lopez from UNC. I mean, like this whole UNC season, we're really not sure what to expect, but like reasonably, if Bill Belichick is focused on the season, then playing for maybe the greatest coach in the history of the sport has to be good for a quarterback when that coach has had success with a quarterback named Tom Brady in the past. So Gio Lopez, I think, presents the classic dynamic skill set that you need from a college quarterback. He put a lot of good stuff on tape at South Alabama, got it done in both capacities. So playing in the ACC, I think there's a lower bar to excite people and get people's attention than in other conferences. I think Gio Lopez could stand out.
No commentary. I'll just quickly say Jaden Ball at Florida. I think he'll be maybe the best running back in the SEC by the time it's all said and done. We'll see. Napier really likes to spread the love there. So he might finish with 600 yards and still be really elite, but just because of the way that they like to spread the rock there. Next up from Ross Taylor, with the new format of the CFP, which conference do you think gets a second team in, the ACC or the Big 12? I wonder if he's asking more about the new format that's coming with the 5-11 or this year. I'll answer both. I think it's the ACC. I think they have 3 teams that recruit well enough to contend for the college football playoff. Cole mentioned blue chip ratio earlier. I think Florida State, not that I expect Florida State to be anywhere close to that this year. I think Florida State, Clemson, Miami, even Florida State's down years. Mike Norvell's had a top 20 class every year except for his first year, which was the COVID year. Even with them being terrible last year, he pulled in a top 20 class. To me, those are the only 3 teams that can consistently compete for the playoff. I think the ACC will more often than not get the second team over the Big 12. I don't know if either of you disagree with that, but that's my take on that.
Zero disagreement.
I completely disagree, at least for this year. I like.
I'm sorry. I'm talking in general.
Okay, because for this year, I like what the Big 12 has. I really think that there's 4 or 5 teams that all could finish with 10-plus wins and punch their way to Arlington. And if one is 11-1 and they lose in that final stage to, say, like a 10-2 Baylor team, you're not going to keep out an 11-2 Big 12 runner-up. It's a little bit different. And I think that there's 2 or 3 teams, Arizona State, Texas Tech. I wouldn't be shocked to see Kansas State with another year of Avery Johnson kind of taking that step forward, getting that range. This year, I would lean Big 12. Most years, I would lean ACC.
The only thing that will make the ACC interesting on that this year is how they play out of conference.
Yeah.
Clemson plays South Carolina and LSU. Miami plays Notre Dame and Florida. If both of them can handle business in the ACC and they do a good job out of conference, now obviously if Miami loses both their out of conference games, or if Clemson loses both their out of, that's a big deal. I think that I'm not betting on Miami to be able to handle business. I like Clemson a little bit better in their roster, but that would, Miami would, to me, is the only second team that can make it unless somebody really shocks in the ACC this year. I just don't know that there's another team close to where Clemson's level is or that'll be up there. But Miami goes 2-0 in those 2 out of conference games, then barring another late season Mario meltdown, they'll be fine. Can Notre Dame get I guess this is the new format from the Big Irish. Can Notre Dame get a first round bye without going undefeated with their schedule? Obviously this year they cannot, right? Because we still have the same format as last year as of now, right? Like that hasn't changed.
No, it's a new format now. Now the format's changing, I thought.
Wait, we're not just, has that changed already?
Yeah, it's changed. Now it's just the top 4 seeds go this year.
Okay, it's not the top 4. Okay.
For champions now.
Yeah, no.
Okay. I wasn't sure with everything that's being rumored on the front. I didn't know if this was this year or next year.
It's a mess. Yeah.
Question again: can Notre Dame get a first round bye without going undefeated with their schedule?
I say yeah. I genuinely don't understand all these people who are saying that Notre Dame has a relaxed schedule. Keep in mind, not only do they open the season against Miami, they also play against Texas A&M. That I think is going to be vastly improved. They also play on the road against Arkansas. Whether or not you want to go ahead and say that Arkansas is a bottom dweller in the SEC, it still is an SEC team traveling to their proximity where they have a quarterback that may end up being one of the more slept on players in college football. They also have to play against the Mountain West and G5 champion. They got to go play against USC, that I think is going to be more improved. I think Pitt's a sleeper this year in the ACC. I like Eli Holstein a lot. Navy is not an easy game again to win against. I think NC State's going to be more improved with CJ Bailey. So this entire notion that Notre Dame has an easy schedule year in and year out, they still have 9 games against Power 4 opponents and a matchup on the road against Miami and Texas A&M to begin their season. So regardless of what you think about Notre Dame being an independent, if they go 11-1, they've earned the right to at least compete for that conversation of having a first round bye.
I completely agree. I could see them only losing the game to Miami outright at the top of the schedule. They could win out after that, potentially. And let's not forget, you have to go to Syracuse to play in the Steve Angeli revenge game inside the Carrier Dome or whatever they call it now. So it's not an easy schedule, but in terms of SEC fans that might watch this are like, oh, this isn't even close. And I will hear that argument. But still, I could see them going 11-1, dropping the opener at Miami. But I buy that Notre Dame being in the playoff without that.
Yeah, I'll buy that as well. I think they can, especially if they go. So at that point, they'd be going 2-0 against the SEC. They'd have a win against, like you said, USC. I'd buy it. I'd buy them at 11-1. I also think that as much as I talked about SEC bias at the beginning, I think Notre Dame's brand bias is a real thing, and the chance at getting Notre Dame higher in your rankings is something that the committee will, in fact, do. I think if NC State played Notre Dame's schedule, they probably wouldn't. But Notre Dame also gets some help with brand bias as well. From Jasper, what's one non-conference? This is a good one. One non-conference game you wish was on the schedule this season. I would take like Florida State and Kennesaw State just to rack up another win. But what do you?
By the way, Kennesaw State could go from worst to first simply because of people playing EA Sports College Football 26. And now if you play the team more, you make more money. And people love Kennesaw State, apparently making it a Cinderella.
I play with them all the time.
Yeah, they're in Atlanta. It's a great pipe.
In reality, I would take I'd take Colorado. I think Florida State, Colorado needs to happen with the Dion Dion drama and stuff that's happened. I think that's one that I would take, regardless of FSU's record or expectations or anything like that. Like that would be a fun one personally for me. Cole, Tom, what you got?
They're no longer they're no longer a conference game, but I just like what I've seen so far from both of these coaches. Give me Kenny Dillingham versus Dan Lanning. I think that Oregon versus Arizona State would be a really interesting game. One quarterback being broken on in with Dante Moore, another quarterback with Sam Levitt, who's kind of going to be the poster boy for Big 12 football. A lot of missing production for Oregon, but all the money and resources in the world to be able to say, we are always going to be a player for the postseason. And Arizona State want to prove that they can be the big mecca in the Big 12. I just really like that matchup. And remember, Dan Lanning got Kenny Dillingham to leave Tallahassee to go to Eugene. And because of what he did with Bo Nix that year, he was able to turn out a really promising resume to where he was hired at his alma mater. So I'd love to see that matchup.
As a Penn State guy, we never got the answer to the question of what if Sean Clifford and Will Levis played against each other, because that was always a confusing thing. I would love to see Bo Perbula as the starting quarterback for Mizzou against Drew Allard, the starting quarterback for Penn State. Where it's played, I almost don't matter. I would love to see that game because Bo Perbula is a Pennsylvania guy, always grew up dreaming of playing at Penn State and got forced into a difficult situation with the transfer portal window and had to go find himself a job somewhere. So that I say as a homer, as a Penn State homer, I will say this. I would love to see UCLA at Tennessee. Oh my God, give me that game. Let me see Nico being crushed at Rocky Top. I would do that. That would just make my heart happy.
Would UCLA come out in that game shirtless? Would that
in the hills of Knoxville? And
why not? In LA at night, sometimes it's the 40s, 50s. You got to bundle up.
Duncan Morgan, which conferences where will the best QB play be? Which conference is the best QB play going into the season? So I don't know if he's asking like who.
I
has
think
the
what
best
he's saying
QB
is
play?
which conference has the best quarterback play going into 2025.
Big 12?
Honestly, that was my guess.
Yeah,
I
that's where I was
really,
leaning.
I
Yeah, I mean
really
the SEC has a higher ceiling. We understand that Lagway and Manning could be 1-2 picks in 2 years in the draft. And so the ceiling there is insane for sure. Nussmeier way up there, Heisman favorite. But overall, I don't know that I'm, Manning and Lagway aren't there yet. And week 4, we might turn around and say like, all right, well, it's obviously the SEC with how these three have played. But to start the year, I'd say the Big 12.
I think the Big Ten also has a sneaky under the radar kind of conversation because if Dante Moore hits, if Damon Williams hits at Washington, if you get really good play from Nico now out at UCLA, plus you throw in what you're going to get with Julian Sain at Ohio State, Drew Aller, Luke Altmaier, you can see Fernando Mendoza have a really good start at Indiana. There's so much that I look at from that perspective of there's not proven commodities, but I feel really good about the middle tier, and I feel really good about the risers. I have questions when it comes to some guys in the SEC. I don't have those questions for the 4 main quartet of newcomers at big-time schools in the Big Ten. I don't.
Dude, imagine if Bryce Underwood takes off this year.
I forgot about him.
He'll be on Barstool Sports every single day of your life during football season. He will
Oh,
be.
God. Gradkowski coming on in from the FBS.
Yeah, Gronkowski.
Gradkowski. Like, imagine Iowa has a quarterback for the first time ever. Like, what is this going to be? It's like, and it's me, an SEC quote-unquote homer, praising the Big Ten. I like their quarterback play as much as I like the Big 12s.
Yeah. I actually really like quarterback play all over the place. I mean, I'll say this. I like the top 6-ish in the ACC. Now, I don't think they're as deep, but I love Cade. I think I'm kind of in disagreement with Tom. I think Beck has a good year at Miami. I like Jennings. I like Haynes King. I like Miller Moss at Louisville. I like Mensah at Duke. Like I like the top 6 in the ACC and think they'll all have really good years. It drops off there. I mean, I don't even know who your next one is.
I would go Gio Lopez probably. And then
Gio Lopez up there. I actually think if he stays healthy, I do think Castellanos will have a good statistical year. I like Holstein. So I guess it's not it's not like a complete fall off the face of the earth. But I like the ACC's top 5 or 6 for sure.
Margin of error is small in every single conference at quarterback play right now.
It is. And I think it's good. I don't think there's remember a couple of years ago, like, I don't know, I forget what it was, but I don't know. I was going to go down a rabbit hole.
Margin for error. So Bo Perbula allegedly got $1.5 million to go to Mizzou, a backup from Penn State. So that's the value on we think he'll be good at this position. Like that's how difficult it is to find a good quarterback in college football.